How's everybody doing today? I'm gonna take a look at CCL, and yeah, I'm blowing videos up like no other, guys. Excuse me. Let me clean this up real quick. Let's get into CCL. So I made a video a while back and we were talking about this potential ascending triangle here, which, you know, still can be a case. Right here we got this ascending wedge, ascending triangle. These things break bullish 70% of the time. What are we doing here? We're still maintaining it. Now, we did catch some resistance here. We had a little bit of a fake breakouts potentially, but although this could make a clear case here that, you know, we could be in, like, you know, a relief kind of rally here, and this could end up turning out to be a rising wedge of some sort here, which would look pretty ugly, which could still potentially bring us to our first target here, which is you know, right around this 26.79 area, or pretty close to it, somewhere between 26.79 and this $26 range. You know, that still could play out here. I'm not sure exactly what this pattern is. Are we making you know, a rising wedge here? Obviously we have this upward sloping resistance and this upward sloping support, so we could easily say this is a rising wedge, but we also had a touch here of resistance, and then a lot of resistance here, which ended up landing a little bit above, but we couldn't close above it, and then a rejection, and then another back test of that support line, and now another rip here is on the verge of happening. So I really want to break this thing down and take a look at some indicators and see if we can see anything that's going to show us a little more of a bullish case than what we've been having here, besides all of this chop. Now, obviously, you know, there's a lot of negative thoughts about airlines and all of that right now, but I do see right now I'm actually looking at this as a falling wedge that looks like it could break out here any time now, potentially. You know, it looks pretty clear to me that we have this wedge that is probably going to break to the upside here very shortly, actually. Of course, we have to look back at this, you know, this same good old resistance here, which, you know, we might even want to bring it up more because we want it as accurate as possible. Now, even if this doesn't call for it to be an ascending wedge, because now it doesn't look like one, where before I was seeing, you know, it looking more like one. But I'm still going to put this flat line here, and I'll just make it, I don't know, blue, because it looks nice. I like that blue. So say this is a rising channel, rising wedge here. If we were to get a breakout here, let's see what the price target of this wedge would come in as. If we get this break here, our target of this wedge would be this widest point of the wedge, and say if we broke up here, look at where our price target lands. How goddamn perfect is that, guys? It'll be the same exact resistance we always hit, but obviously it's higher now. So this target right here is going to come in at roughly $24.99. Obviously, you know, there might be some sellers here around this $24.58 level again. But really, ultimately, if we do get this break to the upside and we hit this level and we back test and chop here and somehow manage to turn this range of support, range of resistance into new support, that's when things are going to really start becoming a lot more clear for us. So we're going to really want to look at this range in between here, which it's a very small range here, but we're looking at, let's see, we're looking at here from 24.09 to, you know, roughly 24.31. Okay, so, you know, somewhere in between $24 and $24.32, we're going to want to look for us back testing that if we do rip to this target and we manage to control this area now. Because if we do manage to control that area, I mean, yes, it can just continue up in this wedge that eventually, ends up breaking to the downside. However, let's see if we've, in the past, real quickly, had anything similar to this. And, let's just see. Let me go to the 3 hour because we can probably break it down a little bit better. Let's see. So we had that breakout there. We had, after that breakout, what did we do from this breakout up? Let's just try this real quick because, you can be in a pattern here and start looking at something like the same type of situation we have here and see how we reacted to it. Well, I mean, that was more of a potential rising channel if we were to call it that. That's probably what it would have been looked at the time, maybe. And then we broke bullish out of it. That's pretty incredible. And then we broke back into it just about, right? That's when we created this rising wedge, which might not even be drawn perfectly. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to see a similar scenario. Well, I guess, okay, maybe right here. Let me see. This is just going to take a brief second. Just give me a second here. If we were to do this, this might be a better example. I mean, even just like that. So here's a decent example. So we had this potential like descending or falling wedge right here. I'm going to draw it like that real quick, right? This is just going to break some shit down just to show us how things can turn easily from bearish to bullish very quickly. So we had this pattern here, okay? We broke up out of it. We started creating a rising wedge, right? Just like we are now. We fell out of this rising wedge, but what did we do? We ended up creating another pattern of a falling wedge. And due to this, because normally the targeted move of a rising wedge is the bottom starting point of the wedge. So by doing that, potentially if we weren't bullish, we would have had to do this. Came all the way back down here. But instead, we consolidated on all of this previous resistance and turned it into support. And then we broke to the upside, okay? So, with that being said, that can make us look at this potential, we don't want to veer too far away from the idea of it being a rising wedge that's going to break down all the way back down to the bottom of it. However, this doesn't have to come all the way back down if we're going to maintain some kind of bullish trajectory here, which would pretty much mean that if we were to, say we came up here, we got rejected, came here, we started controlling this area, we broke up here, fell down, broke up, hit our target, broke down, everyone's going to be in fear for their life that it's going to come all the way back down to $19, okay? If it wasn't to do that, and we'll say that, it works out perfectly here, guys. We hit our target we were looking for. And then it starts falling out. Uh-oh, we're breaking down. But then it ends up creating some kind of falling wedge that ultimately breaks us to the upside here. And this is all speculation. I cannot tell the future. I do not have a crystal ball. But say, something happens in the midst of all this, and then we create some kind of falling wedge that ends up breaking to the upside there, right? There's some bullish things in this chart. The whole point of this is that there's some bullish things in this chart that isn't showing me right now, at least, that we should be breaking to the downside, at least not that far anyway. And I'm going to get into them right now before I go into all this speculation ideas and shit. Still have to expect that we're in a bearish pattern, and although we can see higher prices, we can also break down from it. So now looking at the Ichimoku cloud here, right? This red resistance, we've talked about this in the past, was, well, on the 3-hour time frame it's a little different. On a weekly time frame it looks better. But we held this area as support, we broke to the upside, and then we lost that area, we broke to the downside. If we look further in the trend, we broke above this, we ripped all the way up here, we back tested it many times, we held it as support, we broke it here once, and that was our warning sign that, hey, the next run, we got to get the hell out. We broke here, we came back down. The second test of that area, we fell all the way on our face. This is just on a 3-hour time frame strictly. We know what happened on the weekly. If you've been following me for a long time, we called that $30 range of being a very good point to take profits. And then you guys also know that I re-entered a long position at this $19.45. I'm still in that area, but I am looking to add more here. So looking at this as a falling wedge, we can see that this whole time we've been getting a lot of resistance and not being able to hold support on the same red Ichimoku cloud area. So far, as of right now, we're closing a beautiful 3-hour candle right above this here. And that's actually a flat bottom, pretty damn solid candle. Actually, looking back here, we haven't done that yet. This is the first candle that we're actually closing above this red Ichimoku cloud on a 3-hour time frame here with a flat bottom at 2307. That's pretty freaking huge. This is a clear W here. So if we can get a nice break of this level, which would also be around this 2360 roughly, and it would also be a breakout of this wedge. You know, it's just a small target here, but a targeted move of a W break would be this middle of here. So you'd take a little measurement here and you'd place it right on your W breakout, and that brings us roughly pretty close to 2416. So that might be bringing us back up to test this 2431, you know, but this could be an actual break of a wedge here coming in. But, you know, before we get too excited, we'll take a look at our 4-hour time frame. So, you know, we've obviously been getting our resistance here, but like I talked about before, you know, actually we might even show clearer on the daily, I think, or maybe it was the weekly. I think it was the weekly. All right, so in our weekly time frame here, you know, that weekly candle is a little bit sketchy, but it's nothing we haven't seen before, and we seem to be rolling over here potentially on the smaller time frames, but there's a little bit some scariness in this chart here, because obviously if we were to look at it like this could be a left shoulder, this could be a head, and we could be making a right shoulder here, guys, that actually could bring us to a pretty damn low target. If this is the neckline, this $19 range is a neckline of a head and shoulders pattern here, that could be pretty scary, and it could come in confluence with this potential rising wedge that we see. So we do want to be very careful, because, you know, look at the target. The target roughly brings us down to this $15 range roughly. Okay, so there is some bearish potential things in this chart if we don't get a nice break out of here soon. You know, we seem like right now we have a lot of resistance at 2414, and, you know, if we were to break out, say, next week to the upside, we would be able to at least hit this $25 target that I've had for a while here, roughly, and that could be the last touch of this upper rising wedge that could push us to the downside here and a lot further. So we do have to be cautious on that. Just for the hell of it, I want to look at the monthly. I know it's hard to see because I have so much shit in the way. Yeah, it's not really anything to look at yet. You know, so like I said, I'm trying to feel optimistic about it, but I can see some bearish potentials. But as far as a swing trade here, if we can break above this 2360 area here, we should get some momentum. Oh, actually, we'd have to close a 4-hour candle out of this area here, and then hopefully we can open the next one with a nice bullish break. But, you know, it's something to keep an eye on, because I do see some things forming here in the smaller time frames that is proving to me that we are going to get another little push up here. But it's just a matter of, you know, the couple things are going to be, are we going to get a bullish break, chop around under here again, which is going to cause us to M out here and break to the downside? Or are we going to get a nice push to the upside here, maybe chop on this upper resistance, and then form something phenomenal, which would be reclaiming this Ichimoku cloud resistance, which would roughly be around September 30th at the latest, to decide if we can do anything like that. So yeah, I mean, this is a sketchy time for CCL with Delta variant and, you know, all the COVID shit, and like probably not as many people wanting to fly right now, and, you know, all this bearish news. But at the same time, what happens most of the time with bearish news? Usually when bearish news comes in, that's when the big boys are buying. They scare everybody out into selling. They freak everybody out here in this choppy upper shit going on. And then what do? They fucking buy it up and they pump it. And then everybody buys up here getting mad excited, right? This is all freaking everybody getting super hyped up. Oh my God, CCL is going fucking to $50 again. And then what do? They dump on their ass. But they were buying right here. They were selling up here in this distribution looking area here. So, you know, just something to consider. Now, this isn't financial advice. And obviously, like I said, there's some bullish and some bearish views in this chart right now. And rising wedges are not a bullish pattern. So it's hard to say that we're going to break to the upside and go all the way up. You know, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, you know, this pattern is playing out pretty damn perfectly. So if we can break above this, you know, if we could close up above, like, say, like $26, $25, we could see something good happen here. But if not, then we might see some further downside here. But I know it's just, you know, you're saying two different things. But, you know, on a smaller time frame here, on a 2-hour time frame, this looks great. We just need to get a breakout here of like 23.79. We're getting a bullish MACD cross here coming in. We have a W here on the RSI. Let me hide the Ichimoku cloud here because we are holding support of the Ichimoku cloud. We're right inside this EMA ribbon here, which it has flipped green here. You know, it flipped green right around this point here when we started dropping. It was flipping green, which was a good sign that we were going to get another bounce here, which we did. And then we rolled over. And now we're getting another double bottom. And we need to hold above this 23.50 because that would be the EMA ribbon. And we've done that in the past too. You can see once we broke this EMA ribbon, we pretty much used it as support for a bit. And then when we lost it, that's when we dropped. So now we're starting to use it as resistance potentially, but we just need to break above it here. So it looks like somewhere above this 20, is it 23.72 roughly? 23.80 or so. We want to see if we can get up there. I'm pretty sure we're going to get up there today, but we'll have to see how this plays out because obviously on the 1 hour time frame, it's getting a small rejection here. You know, how is it going to play out? I don't know yet. Looks like 23.20 to 23.30 could hold as support if we do actually get this happen. If not, we might have to come down for another touch down here, which is the support of this rising wedge again, 22.83. You know, I know it's a lot of different things going on. Hopefully this all makes sense to you guys. On the 4 hour time frame EMA ribbon, you can see where all our resistance is. Same place we keep getting rejected, which falls perfectly at this 24.33 once again. If we did break into it, we'll have EMA resistance exactly at roughly 25.03. So, you know, it could be on the last few rips here for CCL before a rejection to the downside, or it could be something that could be building here beyond this bearish outlook. So, you know, the weekly is actually starting to squeeze here on the EMA ribbon, although it's pointing down and it's coming down over our heads here. If it does squeeze and it actually flips green, this might be something to look out for. So, you know, just keep your eyes on it. Like I said, there's a lot of scary things here. We can see this wick that we had over here before our takeoff was right around 24.40, 24.20, and that's roughly where we're getting our key resistance here at right now. So, you know, there's a few things to watch out for and be nervous of, and then there's a few things that could turn around for us, but I'm not too sure exactly. I didn't notice all of these other bearish things really until I started looking at this as a potential rising wedge. So, you know, let's if you guys are in this, if you don't, not even in it, then who cares? But if you are in it, well, let's just see and let's stay optimistic and see what happens if we can reach this $25 range, and if we can start getting above it, or at least we can start holding some support on top of this 24.36, 24.40 area, because holding that is probably the thing that's really going to say, wow, we're getting kind of bullish here if we're going to hold 24.40 as support. Even if we just chop here for a little bit, you know, this could end up being something that breaks to the upside, although these things break down like 70% of the time. But let's just be optimistic, see what happens, and you know, until next time, guys, have a good one. Peace.